can tell you, like, your page is what made me gravitate to you, like just the artwork. I at
Oh,
first didn't even know you were a cancer survivor. I just found your page like it was a suggestion, and I was
oh,
like, oh my gosh, this looks so cool. So I
oh
kind of
man, thank
started,
you.
yeah, I started just digging into like what you were doing, and then sure enough, you know, you're a cancer survivor, so, or fighter currently. So
Yeah.
you're stage 4 now.
Mm-hmm.
Started off as stage 3.
Yes.
So why don't you just give me a little bit on like, just start from the beginning. Just tell me like what happened.
Yeah, so it's been almost a year since I was first diagnosed with melanoma. In June, it will be a full year. So I initially went in for kind of a suspicious mole on my lower back, and that was 20 October of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to just a regular dermatologist. I kept kind of putting it off because I was, 30 years old at the time. I wasn't really thinking about cancer. Um, and so it kind of took me a while to finally go to the doctor. When I finally went to the doctor, I remember one resident took a look at it and he's like, "Oh, how old are you?" And I said, "I'm 30." And he goes, "Yeah, the older you get, the more we see this type of thing. It's called a serobic keratosis or something like that, which
Mm-hmm.
is the common term is a senile wart." And so I was like, that's weird. Okay, I guess I'm getting warts the older I get. It was a pretty gnarly looking mole
Mm-hmm.
too. I think it was like 5 centimeters. So it was pretty good size.
Wow.
Or is it millimeters, milliliters? I don't know. Whatever they measure it as. It was like pretty good size, like that big.
Mm-hmm.
And then two doctors came in the room. They took a look at it. So there's three people looking at this mole, and they all agreed that they weren't worried about it. I remember they went one by one. They said, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Me neither. It's fine. We don't need to take this thing off." And they turned to me and they said, "You think it's ugly?" And I'm like looking at these three doctors and I'm sitting there going, well, I don't have very good insurance right now. I'm not made of unlimited funds. I think I was, pretty broke at the time. And so I made the decision not to get it removed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. I trusted their opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and so it wasn't removed that day. And then 8 months later, it grew and grew, had all of the signs of melanoma. It was catching on my clothes, it was itching, it was bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in again. It like tripled in size. At this point, it was like 15 milliliters. Not
Wow.
milliliters. I'm saying that wrong. But it was,
Millimeters, yeah.
yeah. And it was really big and it was really, really scary. And I remember a resident looked at it and she shaved it off. She said, this is not worrisome. I'm looking at it right now and it doesn't look like the typical melanoma.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but she went ahead and removed it. They biopsied it. And then she called me back like 3 days later. And I actually listened to the voicemail yesterday just to kind of go through my stuff. And I was listening to her voice and it was so cheerful at the time. She's, "Hi Casey, I just want to let you know, like, we biopsied it and you do have melanoma." It was just like she said it in like a really cheerful way, and I just remember feeling so angry at the tone
Yeah.
of her voice and just how everything unfolded.
Yeah.
And it was really, really frustrating, and I had a lot of anger, and I still have anger towards those three doctors, but I try not to let that anger get to me. That's not how I like to live my life.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the story. And so then, as you know, when you hear that you have cancer, especially melanoma, you have to do surgery right away. So everything happened at once. I was put into surgery to check if the cancer spread. And it was a whirlwind of a situation. It was really, really scary. And sure enough, the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes. So there it was staged as stage 3.
Did it go to your groin or?
Yeah, it went to my groin. So the mole is kind of like on my lower back, and it went to the
Mm-hmm.
closest lymph node. So that's right
Right.
on my left groin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you did uh, like radiation, or was it immunotherapy right after that?
Yeah, so after the surgery, and my surgery, mind you, was really quick. The
Mm-hmm.
healing took like 2 weeks. The surgeon was amazing. I really liked my surgeon a lot, and that was, I thought that was going to be the end of it. I
Yeah.
thought cut out the cancer. Um, so from after the surgery, I was going to do 1 year of immunotherapy, and I did about 3 infusions of immunotherapy and felt fine. But
Which
so
therapy did you do?
I did a combination of Yervoy and Opdivo.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I got little tiny spots on my incision site, and like where my scar tissue was, I kept getting like these weird red bumps, and again did not look like the original melanoma that I had, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely didn't look like any melanoma that I had seen online. It was just these weird red blistery kind of bumps.
Wow.
And the way it progressed, I'm calling it a tumor because that's what it is. It usually with melanoma, the tumor grows within your organs or inside your body. But with
Mm-hmm.
mine, it grew on the outside of my skin, which is pretty uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
Uncommon way for the melanoma to present is on the skin. So it just could not be contained. I did 3 infusions of immunotherapy, and the way this thing progressed, this tumor started out tiny bumps, and in 1 month it grew to be a huge tumor, and it was taking over my entire hip.
Yes.
It was really, really scary. And so what had happened was apparently the immunotherapy caused what is called hyperprogressive disease, which I think in 10% of patients receiving immunotherapy, that's what happens.
I've heard
Um,
of it.
yeah, sometimes it causes pseudoprogression. That's a common term for it kind of gets like worse before it gets better. The tumor like really inflames and then it starts to go away. So that's what my then oncologist kept calling it. He's like, oh, it's pseudo progression. Keep going. We got to, get more immunotherapy in your system. And I just did not accept that answer. I knew
Good for
that there
you.
was something wrong. I knew
Mm-hmm.
that this was not normal. And the way this tumor was progressing was just freaking me out. So I got a second opinion. Um, and this guy, that my new oncologist now, he is amazing. He's totally saving my life. And he decided to do 4 weeks of aggressive radiation. So that's what I did just to contain it. And then now I'm on targeted therapy. So, and the radiation ended about 4 months ago.
So when your tumor grew rapidly, just to clarify, if some people don't know, can you just elaborate a little bit about like what that means? Why your tumor did that? Did they explain that to you?
I still don't have a um, good answer for that. I'm really not sure if it was the combination of immunotherapy that made that
Okay.
tumor progress so much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, I still don't really know if it actually was hyperprogressive disease, if that was the
Oh,
case. Maybe
okay.
the tumor was going to do that anyway. If I,
Yeah.
continued with the immunotherapy, maybe it was going to just get out of hand, and immunotherapy is just not the answer for me. I don't have an answer, and no one really has an answer for that.
I
So,
think,
I don't.
and you're not are did you ever get BRAF negative or positive tested? Did you ever do that?
Yes, I am BRAF.
Okay.
BRAF Club.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding, right? There's so many of those out
I
there.
know. But thank God, though, because that is the most common genetic mutation. So I was
Yeah.
glad to hear that.
Your story's crazy, I think, on so many different levels because one, like, it it is a story of where it's teaching people that obviously one, you can't ignore any sort of spot on your body that is doing anything abnormal, which we all know that. And unfortunately, a lot of us
Yes.
learn the hard way. Um, Obviously, you advocating for yourself when you knew something was wrong is a huge thing. People either learn too late or they learn, like for you example, where you trusted yourself and that, and being able to like stand up and say, no, these doctors aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and getting a second opinion. That is something that's so, I think, vital. And everyone, I feel personally, should get a second opinion because who knows
Mhm.
what another doctor might know versus another one, what could help save you versus another doctor.
I know, that is so true. I'm so glad I made that decision to get a second opinion. I mean, it really changed everything. So yeah, I owe my life to getting that second opinion and going to that other oncologist.
Yeah. Do you feel like um, those doctors are, like you say, you don't want to be mad at them, but I have that same kind of thing where I feel like I blame somebody for where I and what I went through because they didn't do what they were supposed to and catch what they needed to catch.
Mhm.
So did you then leave them and go to a different dermatologist, like, or are you done with that office currently?
Oh yeah, and I've sent an email. I sent an email to the dermatology clinic and definitely went to a different dermatologist. Just explaining my frustration. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
about maybe making an appointment with that initial derm and just talking to him face to face and letting him know like he fucked up like big time. And now I'm have stage 4 cancer because you missed this mole. And it's not like this mole didn't look like melanoma. That's what makes me the most frustrated. This mole
Yeah.
it looked like typical textbook melanoma, and so it just blows my mind. But yeah, so I have expressed my frustration. I thought about taking legal action, but at the end of the day, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But I do think it is important. In fact, there's a webinar for UAMS where I went, the hospital I went, for the dermatologist's office, the same dermatologist that I went to. They're doing a webinar where basically they talk about melanoma and how often it is missed with
Mm-hmm.
people, and it's just happening more and more. It's kind of a weird thing that's going on. So they're taking action to change that. So that is good.
I do feel like, in a sense, you could be the person that changes who and how he teaches, essentially. If you did choose to face him, which obviously would be a lot emotionally, I feel like. But you could be that one person that is always in his mind that goes, oh my gosh, I got to think of Casey. Like, she taught me how to do my job, essentially, you know?
Yeah, I've never actually thought about that. But that is, I mean, if I could teach anyone, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
To like to be that
essentially,
person.
you could
But
be
yeah,
the one, you could be helping him help other people, essentially. You know what I mean?
yes, exactly. That would be really really cool. But honestly, when I think about those dermatologists, a lot of me just wants to think about something else and focus my attention on something else, so I don't
I
get
don't
so
blame you.
so angry when I think about it. Which I have. I've had beautiful experiences with my personal oncologist. I went to MD Anderson to get, and the nurse treated me there, just and the advice they gave me and what
Like, there's, I don't know what
I'm so
happened.
sorry. I don't know what happened either.
Apparently it happens all the time. A lot of people were telling me that just a minute ago. So
Oh, really?
I
Well,
didn't know that. So I'm glad that we got you back. But
me too.
um so anyway, you were talking about your oncologist and um your current situation. Why don't you elaborate a little bit, like at what point when you turned stage 4 were you just like well, how was that for you? Were you like upset? Were you crying? Were you like, okay, let's fight mode? Some people are
It,
different.
yeah, it was weird. I didn't actually hear from anyone that it was stage 4. I kind of read about it because it was, again, kind of a weird situation where it's not like I had a tumor growing inside my body. It
Hmm.
kind of progressively showed up on my skin.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was technically past, once the cancer leaves the lymph nodes, it goes somewhere else. That's stage 4. So it was traveled cancer cells. So technically, it's stage 4. So I remember like asking my surgeon that, and he's like, it's not important. And I mean, it's not. He didn't want to look at me and say, yes, it's stage 4. He was kind of like weird about it. And so,
Yeah.
but I knew that it was stage 4. And yeah, hearing that is, it sucks. Both
Hmm.
my parents had stage 4 cancer. And, I
Oh, wow.
knew that I was going to have cancer. I thought I would probably die from cancer. Um,
Did you
but
really?
yeah, but not at 30 years old. I did not think I would have stage 4 cancer at 30, 31 years old.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it,
Can
it
I
is
ask
hard to
why?
hear.
Can I ask why you thought that you would die? Like, what was it, because you were diagnosed, or because like your parents? Just
It's,
like, how did that come to be?
yeah, well, my dad survived stage 4 lymphoma when he was 40, and my mom survived stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma when she was 6 years old. So just growing up with that information, I kind of, I expected that day to come where the
Wow.
doctor sat me down and said, you have this.
Yeah.
Um, so I knew that day was coming, like as morbid as that sounds, like I expected that to happen. Did I think it would be so early in my life?
Yeah.
Hell no. But
Right.
hey, it's here and I'm ready to fight. And I've been
Right.
fighting my ass off. So
So how are you today? Like, where are you at this point now that you've been dealing with this as, for a year, over a year now? Like, where do you from the like first diagnosis to now, like where do you feel like you are? Headspace and just like everything.
Um, do I have days where I break down and cry all day? Yes.
Yeah.
Um, all the time.
Right.
Do I have days where I feel like I have a hold on this and I'm, taking the steps to share my story and to find people like you to help me heal from this? Yes, I have,
Hmm.
those days too. Um, I feel also like really physically shitty a lot because of the
Hmm.
medication I'm on. It
Yeah.
causes extreme nausea and, vomiting and just really weird, awful side effects that I wouldn't wish anyone to have. Um,
Oh, that's too bad.
and so physically, I feel not great.
Hmm.
But then today I feel pretty good. Like I went for a hike this morning with my dog, and that just makes me so happy. Anytime I feel strong enough to go outside and,
You take
be with,
advantage.
yo,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, of course.
I think that's something that we all kind of feel like you have to take your good days and really do as much as you can do without obviously overdoing it. But it's like we really learn how precious the good days are and how much they're like, oh my God, today I was actually able to get up and get dressed and put some makeup on and feel like myself, because you just
Yeah,
stop feeling like you. It's just like so much of it is stripped away as someone dealing with cancer. And
yeah,
cancer's been in your life since you can remember with your
Mhm.
parents. So like I can't imagine just the ever weight, like you're saying, of cancer being present. So you do, I think, just getting to know and watching what you do professionally, I feel like you have a really good outlet that you've, and I don't know how long you've even been working as a digital, graphic designer and doing what you do. Um, but I feel like that's probably a huge outlet for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Art has saved my life again and again. Even before I had cancer, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of always just, I always say it saves my life because
Yeah.
without it, I would not be sane. I would not function. I have to
Mm-hmm.
create in some way. And even if I, don't have the strength to get out my oil paints and paint. By the way, here's some, I'm in the process of moving right now. So here's some
Oh,
pixelated.
that's beautiful stuff.
Thank you so much. I love like pink and like bright colors and
Yeah.
pixels. I try to have
Well,
fun with
it's
it.
it's just such happy, like vibrant colors that how can that not bring anybody joy?
Yeah. I
How
hope
long have
that,
you been doing designing and stuff and doing all this artwork? Or is it relatively new?
well, I've always done art since I was very little. But I'd say I really started to take it seriously when I probably turned 26. That's when
Oh,
I
really?
started really focusing on selling my work and having shows and my website, getting my online store up. So yeah, it's
So you
been.
do art shows too? Like in because you're in Arkansas, right?
Yes, yes, there are artists that live here, and I was surprised by it too, because I moved here from East LA,
Oh,
and I
wow.
moved to LA to pursue art, and that's kind of where I got my style because I was kind of thrown into this world of just the people I was kind of hanging out with, this
Mm-hmm.
world of what is called glitch artists, and they would make art out of like making cool like glitch like effects and pixelated effects and
Mm-hmm.
blurriness. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to kind of take that um, style of art and make it into an oil painting and kind of mix the two concepts together? So that's kind of how the pixel art thing came about.
Yeah.
Um, and then I moved back, and my parents actually live in Arkansas, and my whole family lives in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Not originally, but they moved here, and and I'm really close with my family. I'm really, really close with my family. I mean, I'm single. I'm not married, but so like my mom and dad and my sister are all we're all like very, very tightly
Oh.
knit,
I'm
I
sure that
guess.
helps. It's like you could just going through all the surgery and the treatment and all the stuff that you have to deal with. I'm sure they've been a huge, caregiving support for you because that
Oh
is a
my
huge
gosh.
part of surviving this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what I would do without them. They're everything to me. So it's really important for me to like be close with them,
Mm-hmm.
and like in the same state. So now we're all together, and
That's
life
so good.
life is pretty good.
So tell me a little bit about like the community aspect for you. Like how has that been for you just learning about how what an amazing group of like people that are out there that are just trying to survive this thing like with you. Like I was blown away about the community, like how you feel when you are a part of it. It's just
It
I feel
honestly,
closest with like some of these people online than I do like friends I've known my entire life. It's kind of
yeah,
incredible. So how do you feel about like how that's been?
it makes me cry, to be honest, to know that there's people out there that are going through the same thing. And honestly, I like when I was first diagnosed, I felt like I was like in a dark room and I was just screaming out and no one could answer my questions. Like
Mm-hmm.
none of my questions were getting answered. I didn't understand what was happening. Um, you know, this might be TMI, but like I haven't had my period in like 5 months, and I don't know if it's
Mm-hmm.
because of the radiation. I don't know if it's because of the melanoma, but there's just things happening to my body where like I wish I had an answer,
Yeah.
and my oncologists don't really have an answer for that because I think a lot of their patients are people that maybe, you know, are not in that stage of life anymore, like,
Probably.
you know, like over 50. A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
patients are that I see. And the fact that there's like younger people out there with melanoma, and I know there's more and more young people getting diagnosed with melanoma every day, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
It really does. It makes me feel like I have a family, and it is amazing. Like I was part of this Facebook group, and I just couldn't get answers, and I felt like I just didn't relate to anyone. But
I'm with you on
seriously,
that.
here on Instagram, there was just a whole world I did not know about. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it just makes me feel so good that there's other people and we can all share our stories. People like you. I mean, it's amazing what you're doing for the community, and I just want to thank
Oh,
you from the bottom of my heart.
yeah.
Everything you do, you're
Thank
amazing.
you. That means a lot. I'm really, really glad, and I try to find as many people as I can to just give an opportunity to try and just talk to them, or, so many people who have just reached out and said, hey, thank you for just doing, and sometimes don't even know that I'm doing good at what I'm doing, but a lot of people have reassured me that I have, and I started off as just like someone just trying to speak my mind and find people, same as you. And so it's just kind of incredible how things can transpire and become something so great. And I do think having had experiences like this and just chatting with you at like a normal level of, hey, how are you? What's going on? It's so much more personable, because I too joined a Facebook group, and so many, and I was like, there were either too many people in there, or you're sharing and nobody's talking back, and it just
Yeah,
felt so unpersonable, and I
yeah,
felt more alone actually in those groups.
me too.
So yeah, I just never want people to feel that way, and I really that's my main goal is, so it's good to know that you're feeling that I'm helping you in any sort of way
Oh my
feel
gosh.
supported.
Yes, I feel completely supported. It's a totally
That's good.
different community here on Instagram. And, you know, love or hate Instagram, I've met some amazing people. I know you have too.
Oh
And
yeah.
God, it's just so cool to know you guys and just
Yeah,
everything. I
there's
think
like,
even just sharing your day, like sharing, you know, the side effects you may have had.
mm-hmm.
Some people call that oversharing. I've had people in my life kind of question why I'm choosing to share the things I share because I'm a pretty private person most of the
Mm-hmm.
time. But it helps me, and I know it helps other people to know that
Exactly.
yeah, I'm struggling. And even like listening to your story and just your day to day, just what you go through really really helps me hearing about your day and just, you know, the mundane things.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how um, complete strangers can help save you in a sense. And I feel like that's what a lot of this Instagram community does, is like, you don't know them, but they can say something that you needed to hear and you didn't even know it because you follow them, and they said it on their story, and you're like, oh, thank God. And they might not never tell you that, you might never tell them that they helped you that day, but it's just like it's needed. And I feel like more and more people are learning to be comfortable with their story and sharing it and the details of what they go through. And it's not easy to get to that point. It's not easy to do this and get on a live chat and tell people your personal stories, but it's amazing what can transpire from that. So I think what
Absolutely.
you're doing is incredible, and your art is beautiful, and um,
Ah, thank
it's
you.
it's literally what gravitated me to your page. It's so bright and fun, and people need that in their life, honestly.
Yes. I sure as hell do, so.
Oh my God, me too. My life was so twisted and dark most of the time. So,
Exactly.
you know, everybody needs a good, like, vibrant, fun way to look at life. And I love my dog more than anything in this world. He's like,
Oh my gosh.
he literally is like the life of this house. We wouldn't survive without him. He is the sweetest, craziest, weirdest dog, and he's the best. So I
Yeah.
love what you do with the pet work, and I think whoever gets to win this amazing giveaway artwork that you want to do for this community is going to be blessed because I'm
Oh,
so
thank you so
jealous.
much. I love doing pet portraits and I love capturing people's babies and, fun digital portraits. So I love doing them. So,
So you are wanting to give back to someone, obviously, that follows both of us and wants to send their pet to you. So you will run a giveaway, like you said, for like a week or so of your artwork with someone's lucky little furry friend. So I'm really excited that you want to do that, and I appreciate you for doing that.
I'm honored to do this giveaway and help any way I can.
Yeah. All right. So everybody needs to go thank Casey for being here today. Follow her, encourage her, love her. And I just want to say thank you for coming on and chatting with me for this 40 minutes. I'm very grateful. And I'm sure we will be in touch always.
Of course. You're the best, Katie.
All right. Thanks, sweetheart. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon. See ya.
Bye.